Played at the University of Arkansas.
With the Nuggets.
Played with the Nuggets.
Yeah.
I think he played with the Nuggets last, but I think he was drafted by the New York Knickerbockers, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that right?
Played for a couple of squads, 6'10", 236, lean, mean basketball machine. I don't know if he liked number 42, 44, 35, or 10, but Scott Hastings wore them. And he joins us right now, where he is dominating the local radio airwaves as a part of the Broncos broadcast team. I mean, he does it all. Scott, how are you, man?
Tony Bruno, my main man. Man, it has been a month and a year since I've talked to you. How you doing, friend?
Not as good as you, man. I'm not up there in the rarefied air of Denver, Colorado, where it snows one day and it's 80 the next, man. I miss that stuff.
We just did that. We've had two snowstorms during the lockup, and now it is 70 degrees today, yeah.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful. No, I love that stuff, man, because people can go out. But people aren't going out there, too, right? Everybody's cool in Denver right now?
Hey, listen, Tony, I've learned I try to worry about myself. I'm going to try to get down to that 237 that you just read about. That was about 20 years ago, so I got to find that number again in my vocabulary. No, it's been cool. I mean, everybody's doing what everybody's doing. We're fortunate, we got a house, got a yard, sit out in the front. I got a Bowflex machine in the garage instead of pulling my car in. I work out, so, it is what it is.
Do you have a view of the snow-capped Rockies from your place?
I have to find it. I can look and see it. It's only important when I list a house for sale so I can say mountain views. So I can, as long as I can see them, yes. There's a couple windows I can look out, and I can actually see far enough that I think there's a mountain over there.
Beautiful. Now, of course, I mentioned the bunch of teams you play for, but didn't you win a ring with them bad boys, if I'm not mistaken?
Well, yes, I did. We beat, and honestly, we're glad we didn't have to play the Sixers that year because that was when Mahorn and Barkley were going crazy.
Yep.
But, yeah, we won it. I was on the 89-90 team.
Was he on
Also on the team 90-91 where Michael Jordan started everything and took care of the Pistons in 4 straight Eastern Conference Finals.
Are you digging The Last Dance? Did you catch the first 2 episodes?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I've had a number of people talk to me. In fact, the TV place I work for now that covers the Nuggets games, they say, hey, you played against Jordan for 9 years, maybe we ought to ask you about this. And I go, you think?
No, you're only in the media in Denver, Colorado. You're only involved with the local teams, with the Nuggets and the Broncos. But why would they think of me?
Yeah, why me? But no, you know what, Tony? The cool thing is for me, and that's kind of your era where you grew up too. And I understand getting the dirty out of basketball, and it got ugly and nasty there for a while. But it was a physical brand. It kind of reaffirmed a couple of my things that I thought I knew back then. One, you knew Michael was an unbelievable talent and a hell of a competitor. He was the old Timex commercial when it came against the Pistons because the one thing and why I always call him the greatest of all time, he took a licking. He got his ass whooped every night, and he bounced back, and he just competed harder. LeBron probably could still do that, but he's never had to do that. And I know, 6'8", 280, and he's a beautiful body, and LeBron's a Greek god and all that. He never had to come off the deck from a Lambeer or a Mahorn or a Rodman or a, pick him. Every team had 3 or 4 dudes that were trying to lay him out. So you knew that. And you also knew Jerry Krause was a dummy. I mean, that reaffirmed that in those first few.
Everybody ripped Jerry Krause. He's sweaty. He didn't look. Yeah, but the
he's
guy,
a short, fat guy.
The guy did a pretty good job.
Oh, he
though.
did.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah.
Well, listen, he brought some people around. Let's don't forget Rod Thorne was the guy that drafted Jordan.
Right.
Yep.
Listen, he brought Pippen and he brought Horst. He also got Pippen and Horst out of there.
Mm-hmm.
He brought a number of guys in there. He basically chased Michael Jordan out at least once.
Phil Jackson, too.
He chased Phil Jackson. I mean, think about it. The interesting thing for me, is they had won 5 in a row, and they had to convince the general manager to go for 6.
Yeah.
Or, they won 5, 3 in a row. They're
5 out of
3
7
row
years,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and they had to convince the team that, well, I'd like to see the next year video crew because you've now just won 6 in 8 years, 3 in a row, a 2-year hiatus, 3 years in a row, and you're going to break that team up too? I mean, and I will say this for Jerry in that year, and Tony, you know this. Remember the Celtics just during that time let themselves get too old. And McHale kind of succumbed to the injuries, and Bird's foot started succumbing to the injuries, and DJ was up there in the years, and they kind of let that team stay together, still hoping for that next year of magic, and it just never happened again. And then they were kind of behind the 8 ball. Then the Lynn Bias stuff, happened in there somewhere, and I can see where Krause said, listen, we can't go the route of the Celtics, let our guys just all of a sudden hobble into the AARP arena, and also we can't win because of that. So I get that, but dude, they're going to win it this year. Not to spoil it for anybody, they do win it this year of the filming.
Wait a minute, you're giving now I don't have to watch for another 4 weeks.
Spoiler alert!
Exactly,
spoiler
man.
Spoiler alert! They're going to win it at the end. So if you want to fast forward it, go ahead. I don't know if you'll fool anybody, but no. Listen, I like it. I was teammates with Dennis for a couple of years. I look forward to Sunday because I think Rodman, at least in number 3, it looks like is going to be prevalent. Mm-hmm. I think you're also going to see what. And I think ESPN the other day had, who was Jordan's biggest rival? Was it? No, it was the entire Eastern Conference.
Exactly.
It was the Celtics. It was the Knicks. It was the Sixers. It was the Pacers. It was the Pistons. It was the Eastern Conference. And they beat him up and toughened him up, and he got bigger, badder, and stronger than everybody else over there, and then won championships. And no slight to the West at all. But once he won the Eastern Conference Championship, he was going to win the whole thing. There was never a question during that time. So I look forward to it because I think the bad boys, the Pistons, were the main reason Jordan became who Jordan became.
We're talking about Scott Hastings because the reason I got to know Scott is because when he retired in '93, that's when I was at ESPN, at ESPN Radio. So his last year was with the Nuggets, and then he started doing broadcasting right away, and he would come on at ESPN with us, and that's how I got to know you. And I always love talking to you, man. Arkansas.
Hey, you and I helped start ESPN too.
Exactly right. We were on there with the fake leather jackets, pretending we were cool younger guys, even when we were older. Now we're getting people who are commenting, Scott, about that's typical older player from that era, picking on the younger players. I mean, Kendrick Perkins has said the modern-day NBA, the guys had load management. How many load management games did you get off, Scott, or did Michael Jordan take off?
Listen, I had coaches give me load management, but it was talent load management. They knew there was only a handful of talent days they could get. Listen, the NBA players are phenomenal today, and I had a chance to do a little Zoom interview with Dan Issel the other day, who's in the Hall of Fame and played in the ABA and won a championship with Hubie as a coach, and Artis Gilmore from the Kentucky Colonels, and then all the years in Denver. And I think he said it best. He said the talent now they're so much more athletic than that other era, even the Jordan era. Although you're going to tell me Jordan doesn't look pretty athletic, but there was more of an emphasis of intelligence and a knowledge of the game. And I mean, that's why in Lambier, and I know it was real physical, but Lambier's, love him or hate him, is one of the smartest guys you'll ever see. Mm-hmm. Rick Mahorn was the same way. There was guys that you wouldn't necessarily, Jeff Ruland, that you wouldn't necessarily say are the smartest guys in the world or the best athletic guys. Chris Mullin. But boy, they were smart. They had this basketball smarts. And he felt, and I do too, that was emphasized more so than even pure athleticism. Now, when you can combine somebody for Jordan, like Jordan, who was an athlete that can play in any era, and the intelligence on top of it, and then a competitive nature that is as good as there is. The great ones all have that. It's something to see. You know, I'm sorry I'm long-winded here, but I had Joe Klein on, who was a roommate of mine in college, and he was on there a couple times during the first two episodes. He played with Bird and McHale in Boston. He played with Scotty and Michael in Chicago, and he played towards the end of his career with Kobe and Shaq.
Wow!
Think about that.
Yeah, that's a nice group to be around to fit in with.
He said about all those guys, he said all of them. He didn't really say Scotty, but he said the competitiveness, that they wouldn't lose a game of checkers to their mom's sister and sitting in the nursing home. He said the competitiveness is what sets them. And he even said, Michael, in practice, man, it was like a game. He said, you practice, and let's go back to famous Philadelphia's word, practice.
Practice, man.
He said, they practice. He said, it was the same thing in Boston with Larry and Kobe. That was Kobe's thing in L.A. He said those guys fine-tuned everything in practice. They took it serious. So it's really a neat perspective. I don't know if that's necessarily the mindset now. I think there's a competitive edge that has dropped off of too many guys. I think LeBron has it. I think there's a handful. I think Durant has it. I think Curry has it. I think Westbrook has it. I think Damian Lillard has it. But I just don't know if it's as prevalent as it was back in this era we're watching with Michael.
We're talking with the great Scott Hastings up there, who does everything. I mean, you had the Broncos for 1,000,000 years up there. You do the Nuggets. And so obviously on your show there, you got to be talking a lot about NFL draft coming up tomorrow for the Nuggets, who pick way down there.
15.
Yeah, 15. Who are they picking?
Well, listen, that is hell. I don't know.
Another wide receiver?
Here's an interesting thing. We went back and looked at the 2012 draft, and I think it was Pittsburgh doesn't have a first round this year either. In the 2012 draft, they had no first round, and yet in that draft, they end up picking 5 of the 7 guys they drafted became starters, and all 5 end up winning Super Bowl 50. That's a draft. Mm-hmm. And guess what? No one was talking about their second round Derek Wolfe getting selected, or the 4th round this guy, name all the guys that's on it. But so I'm always, the first round is all for show, but the teams are going to win some money, or the teams are going to do some, and no one pays attention. You guys know this. The ratings on the first night have blown up for the last handful of years. And then the next 2 nights, which are the meat and potatoes of the team, no one pays attention to.
Well, they will this year because there's nothing else.
Yeah, they have to, because that's the only thing that's going on. So I don't know. There's rumors that they're going to take a wide receiver. The problem with that, unless Judy drops down lower or in an area where they can move up, they'd love to have him. If not, if you see him move up early, and the receivers, the 1 or 2 top guys are gone, then they're probably going to try to get into the left tackle mix. But I don't know, man. Take it to here's my whole thing I've said for every single draft there's ever been. And we got this question, what's his bench? What's his 40 time? What's his shuttle time? What's his vertical? The first question should be, every time there's a draft, can they play?
Exactly.
And if the answer is no, then take that big stack of papers and go throw it away.
Yeah, and figure out how much they love to play football.
Yeah. And if it's, I don't know, but he's got a lot of speed. Okay, so you don't know if he can play. Boom, let's go to the next guy. So that's why I like. Give me guys that can play. Broncos haven't been in the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl, so it'd be nice to see them play some meaningful games this year in April.
Exactly. Scott, I got to ask you about the league, the NBA. We're talking the NHL's talking about maybe in July. Is there any way the league cranks back up again and finishes this season and takes it into the summer, because then they can start the next season on Christmas Day instead of October and November when no one's paying attention.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, Tone. I've been preaching that for a while. I think this is a great opportunity for the NBA to start thinking out of the box. I think the NFL could think out of the box a little bit also. The NBA doesn't need to start until Christmas, and if they go till July 4th, who cares? Baseball doesn't. You don't really start paying attention to baseball until after the 4th of July, right around the All-Star break. Then you pay attention to baseball, so you've got out of that. Football, why the hell are we playing football games in August? Why can't we start on October 1st? And oh my gosh, they might have to play on a cold day in December and January. That's the best football. We watch those games every time it's on.
Yeah, I was pissed off last season. There weren't any snow games. I'm waiting for a damn. There was a couple of flurries. Even in Buffalo, there was no snow. It's an outrage.
We had a game, and it might have been Drew Lock's second game start. He got to go into Kansas City in a snowstorm, and you didn't. I'm telling you what, you didn't take your eyes off the TV because it bothered Denver. Guess who it didn't bother? Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. He didn't mind the snow. He was running all over. So I think there's a chance for the league to really think out of the box. It's going to be interesting. I think the best commissioner in all sports is with the NBA right now, but he's going to be in a position where he can't make everybody happy, and I think he's a guy that likes to have kumbaya around him more than not. Mm-hmm. And I know there's going to be guys that, okay, they're out of the playoffs right now. We're going to start where the final standings were, and that's going to piss off 9, 10, and 11 teams. But that might be the best way to do it. And then you just start the playoffs when you start it all up. But then you're going to have some stars that are going to be upset. I don't know what they would do. That would be the easiest way to do it. That way you've only got 16 teams to worry about, maybe 2 locations, maybe 8 locations, however you want to do it. I don't know. And then we go. And then we'll see. I just want to see if they do the games and the referee's going to wear masks because they've been robbing and stealing the NBA for 20, 30, 40, 50 years anyway.
They're going to wear full face masks with just the eyes and nose cut open so they can breathe, so no one can see who they are. So then everybody can say, well, that guy, he usually calls fouls against the Denver Nuggets every time. And he doesn't like the 76ers, so he's going to ring those guys up. And he doesn't like Joel Embiid, so he's not going to get any flop calls.
Well, why not? You know what? Guess what? You don't know who the cat is? Let him rep. I'm okay. And here's the second, my bone of contention that I've always had rep. Why a referee need a stat sheet at halftime?
It's a good question.
What's the purpose of a referee getting stat sheets at halftime?
He wants to see if he can bet the over and under. He wants to see if he's got some good overplays and some total numbers at halftime, just like everybody else.
Yeah, well, this guy's only got 1 foul. I'm going to call 5 on him in the second half.
Exactly right.
Yeah, right.
Or hey, Kobe or LeBron, hey, they got 4 fouls. We
got to lay off.
Come on now.
The great Scott Hastings. You can hear him every day up there on my favorite name for a radio station, Altitude Radio.
Yeah.
I mean, could there be anything more perfect than calling your station Altitude when you're in Denver, Colorado?
Only calling our show the Masters of the Midday.
The Masters of the Midday, with your 2 partners there. It's called Harris, Hastings, and Dover.
Yep.
And you have fun doing it, I hope, on 92.5 FM.
We have fun. You know what? We were fortunate with the Colorado Broadcasters Association. This gave us the best midday show in Colorado, so we're pretty excited.
What is the second most discussed sport in Denver after the Broncos?
You know what? This year, and really the last couple, because the Broncos have struggled, they're always a topic. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no doubt about that, and the draft obviously is dominating. But you had 2 teams in the Nuggets and the Avalanche that last season had gone both to the second round, both seventh game of the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, the Nuggets are good.
The Avalanche, I think, were legitimate contenders to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Yeah, he's talking hockey here, not about the Nuggets. He's talking about the Colorado Avalanche.
Well, I think the Avalanche, I think they got a chance to win the whole thing, or had a chance. And then, listen, the Nuggets are a break or 2 or a piece away from being really good. And I know Joel Embiid is awesome back there. it's funny, he busts every single big guy in the league, and all he ever says about Joker, Nikola Jokic, is glowing things.
Mm-hmm.
I think they both understand they've got game, and they've got a mutual respect between each other, which I think is really kind of cool because he kills Towns. You guys hear all the noise.
Oh, yeah.
He kills Towns and everybody else. But you ever hear him say anything negative about Nikola Jokic?
Nope.
You know? and those are the two best centers in basketball right there, Embiid and Joker.
Great stuff, man. That's why I love talking to this guy. You can talk about everything up there except the illegal, now legal marijuana sales up there.
Well, that's legal. That's legal, yeah. We won't talk about how crime has gone up or anything like that.
No, don't talk about that. Come on, man. You know that there's nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with it. No. Or vagrancies or anything. That's nothing to do with it. Although Lay's is very excited because cheese puffs and Cheetos have really gone off the shelf.